Moving on through Unit 2, today we're going to discuss schedules. There are many different types of schedules depending on what job you select. There are different standard 8 hours a day, 5 days a week work schedules. And we know that 8 hours a day, 5 days a week would be standard because it comes up to 40 hours, which we know is the standard work week. Alternate work schedules means that they don't go through the typical 9 to 5 scenario. A flexible scheduling or flex time schedule is a work schedule that allows an employee to choose their working hours within defined limits. Defined limits are specific hours, some that overlap, that an employer allows you to work. So, for example, let's say that you and your best friend work at McDonald's. You would prefer to work in the mornings. She would prefer to work in the afternoons. So the flex time situation is that you choose to do your 8 hours from early in the morning until mid-afternoon. And she'll do hers early afternoon until early evening. There is a core time period at McDonald's where the drive-thru gets very busy. That's typically lunch. So from around 10:30 to around 1:30 would be what McDonald's considers core time. So if you worked mornings, you would have to stay until maybe 12 or 12:30 in the afternoon. So some of it is not a morning shift, but it will continue into an afternoon shift because that's the core time. But then you get to go home. Your friend might have to come in at, say, 10 or 11 o'clock. If she prefers afternoons, she would work from 10 or 11 o'clock until maybe 4 or 5 o'clock, which is early evening. But again, you will both see each other because there's an overlapping time called core time period that they need the most workers in the McDonald's to handle all the people getting their lunch. So a flex time allows you to choose when you want to do your 8 hours. And it's flexible because you can pick a morning, an afternoon, or an evening if it works for you. A compressed work week is another type of work schedule that fits the normal 40-hour work week, but it presses it into less than 5 days. So instead of working Monday through Friday, maybe you work Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, and you do all 40 hours in those 3 days. So your days are very long. You could do 4 10-hour days, or you could do 3 15-hour days with one being a little less. But those types of days are really going to wear some people out. However, if you compress them into 4 days, then you get 3 days in a row off because you've already finished your standard work week of hours. Some people prefer compressed work weeks because they like to have their Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays off. I know that nurses are an example of a job that has a compressed work week because they'll work 12-hour shifts, several in a row, and then have several days off. This ensures that they are with certain patients through their entire 12-hour period. So this means that they can be consistent in checking the patient. If it's the same nurse in the morning that's the nurse in the evening, that's the nurse in the morning the following day, then she knows your patterns and she can take better records, or he can take better consistency in his notes. So a compressed work week works great with certain jobs. In particular jobs that offer job rotation or job sharing, there are several tasks that need to be done. So in job rotation, a job is designed in which employees are trained to do more than one specialized task. So let's just say that you worked at a factory, and this particular factory put together skateboards. You would rotate from one job to another throughout the day. One person would give the skateboard its front tires and a design. One rotation, you would give it the back tires and maybe check the bottom of it to make sure it works. All day, you're doing something different, but still accomplishing the same goal. This gives you variety in your job because you're doing different things all day. So you're not going to get bored and you're not going to get sick of your job. You're going to feel better. From 8 to 9:30, you're doing front tires. from maybe 9:30 to 10 o'clock, you're doing safety checks. Then maybe you're doing phone calls. They keep you moving. It allows you to talk to people in each station. So as you're doing one thing, the people next to you are doing something else, you can kind of express different pieces of information, like maybe we should do it this way, it'd be easier. Or maybe I'll do your job tomorrow. I don't mind doing that kind of work. So it definitely allows for exchange of information, and it keeps the work flowing as long as nobody is absent. So when someone is absent, I can jump into your spot and do your job because I've done your job already. Job sharing is a job design in which two people share one full-time position. They split the salary and all the benefits according to each person's workload. So at the front desk at South Brunswick High School, there are many secretaries that share that position. So in the morning and in the afternoon, you are going to say Mrs. Williams or Elizabeth, depending on what you call her. She answers phones and works with parents that come in and does all of the mail. But during her lunch break and after school, you'll see a different secretary doing the exact same job. If she did only the mornings and that other secretary did the afternoons, that would be a split down the middle job sharing. And they would split the amount of money being paid and all of the extras. However, she does more work because she does more hours. So when it comes to being paid, because she has more of a workload, she is making more money. Job sharing is attractive to people who want a part-time job. They don't want to work all day long. So it works out really well for them to just do the mornings or just do the afternoons. And then during the day, they can use personal time to run errands or doctor's appointments or things like that. And it lowers fatigue and also improves productivity. So you're not as exhausted at the end of the day because you haven't worked a full day. But if you are ever out, your partner could do an entire day and still get all of the work done. So the productivity never slows down. If we're talking about good old permanent part-time positions, that could be with job sharing. Many people choose to only work between 16 and 25 hours a week. Remember, part-time is anything under 30. So 16 to 25 hours a week means maybe 3 to 4 hours a day, 5 days a week. Many companies can save on benefits and salary by hiring permanent part-time employees. If you work under a certain amount of time, you're not entitled to getting health care. Part-time workers usually provide benefits to the employees, such as job security, but it still allows you to spend time away from home. So there are good points to these employee positions. Another option for a working situation is telecommuting, which is just another way of saying work from home. So if you telecommute, you can work on the road or at home and stay in contact with your managers through email, cell phone, and other apps. Employees who telecommute do computer-related work, mostly like data entry or software development. And so you need to have background in that information in order to be eligible. Working at home is convenient and gives you a lot of flexibility, but it doesn't work for all jobs. There are some online teaching programs which allow teachers to work from home, but it would be really hard to work from home, if you were a doctor or a vet. You'd be bringing your patients or your pets into your household. It doesn't exactly work out the same way. So there are some positions that are not able to be changed over to a telecommuting position. Also, telecommuting positions are not for everyone. I particularly know that staying at home and doing work in my pajamas for me would mean I do no work. I would totally be lazy. I'd wake up at noon. I would not be accountable. So you have to have the type of personality that allows you to be motivated even if you're in your own bedroom. Another component to jobs is the idea of a labor union. A labor union is a group of people who work in the same or similar occupations. These groups are organized for the good of all the employees. For example, you could be in a teachers union, or you could be an electricians union. You could also be in the postal workers union, the mailmen have unions, or you could be in an actors guild or actors union. These unions recruit new members, engage in what we call collective bargaining, which we'll talk about on the next slide. They support political candidates who support member interest, meaning they support politicians who maybe like electricians or are supportive of teachers. So if you're in the teacher union, you're going to support whatever candidate really supports education. And they provide support for their members. So let's start with the idea of collective bargaining and all that goes into it. The main function of a union is collective bargaining, which is the process of negotiating a work contract for its members. So I'm going to use teachers and electricians as an example. When the teachers union or the electricians union has representatives talking about contracts, what that means is not every member goes to the contract meetings. Can you imagine if every teacher in every school in South Brunswick went to the contract meetings? It would be 400 to 500 people talking to the Board of Ed about what they wanted in our new contract. Same thing with electricians. So representatives are selected for a committee, and that committee goes and talks about contracts. The contract is decided upon by those two groups, and it talks about working conditions. So it'll have ideas out there about the way teachers want to work or how many hours they want to work, how much people want to get paid in that particular union, how much are they getting paid in overtime, is it fair, are they getting a fair amount of hours, or are they getting way too many or maybe not enough, and what's going on with healthcare, etc. So the collective bargaining is when the groups get together and discuss all of these situations. They also, in the contract, come up with what's called the grievance procedures. And a grievance is a complaint by an employee or by the union that an employer has violated some aspects of the work contract. So let's just say you were an electrician and your contract, which was agreed upon by your boss and by the person who's paying your boss, the contract says you can only work 9 to 5 on Mondays. You have to leave by 5 o'clock. But the person who has hired you to do the electrician work says you have to stay till 6. You, as an employee, can file a grievance, a complaint, and then there's a process that takes place so that you get your rights protected. A work contract also describes seniority rights. Seniority, just like if you're in your senior year, refers to the length of time on the job. So if you are a senior or a junior later on this year, you can get a parking pass. That's a senior privilege. Same thing with a work situation. If you wanted to be transferred to another company, the oldest, longest working member of the company gets that right. If there is a promotion available, the oldest working person in the company gets to apply for that. You can apply as well, but typically the job is given to someone who has seniority, which means been there longer. In some places, the longer you work there, the more vacation time you can get. So a person who is in a position of seniority probably has the most vacation time of anybody else in the company because that means they've been there the longest. So again, these are all components of a union that you can choose to join if your particular occupational group offers one. It's a personal decision, you do not have to, but to join it, you do get some benefits, but you also do pay dues. So be aware that joining is not for free. That is the end of this slideshow, and just to quickly click back, you should have these two terms in your notes. This term as well. These we won't worry about. They're just different types of a working situation. 2 more here and 2 more here. Again, we've talked about taxes, earning income, and what happens to it. These are just other ways that your job can be contoured to the way you like it. If you're going to work for the rest of your life, you might as well enjoy doing it.